This is the BBC4 Moon Night. And for the next couple of hours, we are going to look back to that fantastic time when it was decided to send men to the moon.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth. No single space project in this period will be more impressive to mankind or more important for the long-range exploration of space, and none will be so difficult or expensive to accomplish.
This is Apollo Saturn launch control. We've just passed the 31-minute mark in our count. For T-minus 30 minutes, 52 seconds and counting, aiming toward our planned liftoff time of 32 minutes past the hour, the start of our launch window on this, the mission to land men on the moon.
This was the scene on July the 16th, 1969, at Cape Kennedy, now Cape Canaveral, in Florida. 3,000 tons of Saturn V rocket, and the culmination of American space program in the 1960s. In the previous 7 months, NASA had launched 3 spacecraft in preparation for this, the greatest adventure of all. The crew are Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins. Tonight, we're going to relive those moments. Sadly, much of the material we presented on the BBC has not withstood the ravages of time, and so, painstakingly, we reassemble bits of videotape, clips and sound archives to relive those moments when men first went to the moon. You know, it's a fantastic experience for me to look back and relive those moments. The BBC team of presenters were myself, James Burke and Cliff Mitchell, with Michael Charlton over at the Manned Spacecraft Center in Houston. And so first of all, over to Mike Charlton in Houston.
And so, here at Cape Kennedy, we're all off to the moon this morning. The mighty Saturn V, the big Moon Express, all ready to leave platform 39 here at Cape Kennedy on time in about 30 minutes. This enormous event, which uniquely unites all the world, because all the world can be interested in this journey. And after this journey, we on Earth can never be the same. And sufficient tribute to that, the thousands of journalists and photographers from over 70 countries, more than twice as many as we've ever had for any launching at Cape Kennedy before, man the ramparts here across the moat to that great technological castle out there, Saturn V. And what a sweltering morning it is. Already at this moment, they're sitting high on the summit, at 330 feet above the ground. They walked across their little swing arm into the capsule, high atop the Saturn V as it stands on this great altar of a place here at Cape Kennedy, with 9 more launches to follow it in man's conquest of the moon. And we almost don't believe it now, looking at it, what this shot holds for us all this morning. The order they've received from the President is expressed in almost military terms, simple and laconic: perform lunar landing and return. And so, up there this morning, let's all think of those 3 men, 3 superb pilots. Armstrong, the commander; Aldrin, the man who will share the journey down those last 50,000 feet, the unknown part of this lunar journey to the moon; and Collins, the man who's going to fly them round. And here they are at breakfast a couple of hours ago, and the traditional steak and eggs, and how they can eat it with this journey before them, Lord alone knows. There was a time when there was a sort of tumbril and gallows complexion about these missions, when there was a high probability, we all thought, that these men were going out to kill themselves. But now the launching technique has been got down to such a reliable art by the Americans that there are not really many fears about that this morning. Neil Armstrong from Wapakoneta, Ohio, fulfilling an American ideal, coming from a little small Midwestern town in the United States. The log cabin to White House analogy extended from log cabin to space capsule. As he sits here with Mike Collins on his right-hand side now, we can't hear any sound from this briefing a couple of hours ago, but one can imagine what they're saying. Professional, relaxed, rested, the doctors told us, fit as a fiddle, ready to fly. They go through quietly the last weather reports and the last briefing of what President Nixon said in a special message to these men last night was mankind's greatest adventure. And the goodwill of all men on earth must surely go with them this morning. Again, we take you back in time for this great shot of them as they left the manned spacecraft building this morning into the trailer. Armstrong first, Michael Collins, and last of all, Buzz Aldrin into the trailer. So it's the best America can provide here this morning.
This moment, the three astronauts are in the spacecraft, the hatch is closed, and only now the final checks to go through. The last thing anybody wants now is an emergency, but like everything else, they're ready for that too.
Once the crew are on board, if it looks as if they're in danger, they get out and head down this tube, specially insulated against fire, and zigzagging down not to some point out and away from the rocket, but to an escape room exactly where you'd think it shouldn't be.
Three and a half minutes after they get the warning in the capsule, the crew could be down here in the blast escape room via that 200-foot escape tube, 40 feet below the base of the rocket. They find themselves in a totally rubber room, walls and floors, and they head for safety through a 6-inch steel door. Once they're behind that door, it doesn't matter what comes down this tube behind them. On this side of that door, the rarely seen blast escape room itself. It's totally isolated from everything around it by a series of 24 giant springs underneath the floor and shells all round it of steel, concrete, and sand. It contains enough food, water, and air for 20 people for up to 24 hours, and it's all around the edge. There are these foam rubber shock-absorbing seats, as you can see. The room is built to withstand the simultaneous explosion of every drop of fuel on a Saturn V. And in that event, strapped into your shock-absorbing seat, if your rocket did blow itself to bits 40 feet above your head, all you'd feel would be a mild rumble from somewhere up there.
Well, happily, we can now see the weather at Cape Kennedy, so back there to the satellite picture and to Michael Charlton.
And you may just be in time to get a look at it, I suppose, if we wave at you, but you've just passed the BBC, and there's Jacques Salbert of ORTF, all the correspondents from Denmark, from all over Europe, as we pan down the rows high up above here, 140 from Japan alone and 4 from Luxembourg, part of the team of 3,500 people who have eyes only at the moment for the sights that we see in front of us just 3 miles away, and how privileged one feels to be here this morning to see the liftoff of Apollo 11, with the latest news that everything is going perfectly. And away above the Cape, you get some idea of the interest aroused throughout the United States by this. There are people from all over the states who've driven down here. One family from Quebec in Canada we were talking to this morning who line the causeway leading into Cape Kennedy. They're not allowed into the station itself. But just look at these cars as we see them now from a helicopter, crammed on the beaches. And here comes the big Atlantic swell rolling into the beaches which stretch north and south of Cape Kennedy. And these are the lunar tides being left high up and dry on that beach this morning, made by that moon that these men will be walking on in 3 days' time. And venting away there at the top of the first stage, the liquid oxygen boiling away in this heat at the Cape, giving an almost sinister effect, as it always does to the rocket. Still tied by its umbilicals right at the very top there to the spacecraft. The swing arm that the American astronauts walked across right at the very top, swing arm 9 it's called. As we look at the firing room and some of the 400 men who will send Apollo 11 on its way. Incidentally, there's no button they push here. That's all done by clocks tied to computers. And the last 6 minutes of Apollo 11's countdown, as you heard, belongs not to man himself, but to the things that man created.
This is Apollo Saturn Launch Control. We passed the 6-minute mark in our countdown for Apollo 11. Now 5 minutes, 52 seconds and counting. We're on time at the present time for our planned liftoff of 32 minutes past the hour. Spacecraft test conductor Skip Chauvin now has completed the status check of his personnel in the control room. All report they are go for the mission, and this has been reported to the test supervisor, Bill Schick. The test supervisor now going through some status checks. Launch operations manager Paul Donnelly reports go for launch. Launch director Rocco Petrone now gives a go. We're 5 minutes, 20 seconds and counting. Coming up shortly, that swing arm up at the spacecraft level will come back to its fully retracted position. This should occur at the 5-minute mark in the count. In the meantime, the lunar module telemetry has been powered down. We took a good look at Eagle, and it looks good. The spacecraft test conductor for the lunar module reported that Eagle was go. The swing arm now coming back to its fully retracted position as our countdown continues. T-minus 4 minutes, 50 seconds and counting. Skip Chauvin informing the astronauts that the swing arm now coming back. The astronauts will have a few more reports coming up in the countdown. The last business report will be from Neil Armstrong at the 45-second mark in the count when he gives the status on the final alignment of the stabilization and control system. We're now passing the 4-minute, 30-second mark in the countdown. Still go at this time. 4 minutes, 15 seconds. The test supervisor now has informed launch vehicle test conductor Norm Carlson, you are go for launch. From this time down, Carlson handles the countdown as the launch vehicle begins to build up. We're now hitting the 4-minute mark. 4 minutes and counting. We are go for Apollo 11. We'll go on an automatic sequence starting at 3 minutes and 7 seconds. 3 minutes, 45 seconds and counting. And the final...
and so 3 minutes and 30 seconds to go.
Between several key members
and
of the crew here.
And a tremendous buzz of excitement rises up all around us here at the Cape above this metal voice from the firing room, which tells us what's happening in these last earthbound minutes for man. July the 16th,
3 minutes, 25 seconds
1969.
We'll still go at this time. We'll be
2
coming
minutes
up
to
in the
go
automatic
to man's
sequence
journey to the
about
moon.
10 or 15 seconds from this time. All still go at this time. Neil Armstrong reported back when he received the good wishes. Thank you very much. We know it will be a good flight. Firing command coming in now. We are on the automatic sequence. We're approaching the 3-minute mark in the count. T-minus 3 minutes and counting. T-minus 3. We are go with all elements of the mission at this time. We're on an automatic sequence as the master computer supervises hundreds of events occurring over these last few minutes. T-minus 2 minutes, 45 seconds and counting. The members of the launch team here in the control center monitoring a number of what we call red line values. These are tolerances we don't want to go above and below in temperatures and pressures. They're standing by to call out any deviations from our plans. 2 minutes, 30 seconds and counting. We're still go on Apollo 11 at this time. The vehicle starting to pressurize as far as the propellant tanks are concerned, and all is still go as we monitor our status void. 2 minutes, 10 seconds and counting. The target for the Apollo 11 astronauts, the moon, at liftoff will be at a distance of 218,096 miles away. We've just passed the 2-minute mark in the countdown. T-minus 1 minute, 54 seconds and counting. Our status board indicates that the oxidizer tanks in the second and third stages now have pressurized. We continue to build up pressure in all 3 stages here at the last minute to prepare it for liftoff. T-minus 1 minute, 35 seconds. on the Apollo mission, the flight to land the first men on the moon. All indications coming in to the control center at this time indicate we are go. 1 minute, 25 seconds and counting. Our status board indicates the third stage completely pressurized. 80-second mark has now been passed. We'll go on full internal power at the 50-second mark in the countdown. Guidance system goes on internal at 17 seconds, leading up to the ignition sequence at 8.9 seconds. We're approaching the 60-second mark on the Apollo 11 mission. T-minus 60 seconds and counting. We passed T-minus 60. 55 seconds and counting. Neil Armstrong just reported back it's been a real smooth countdown. We passed the 50-second mark. Power transfer is complete. We're on internal power with the launch vehicle at this time. 40 seconds away from the Apollo 11 liftoff. All the second stage tanks now pressurized. 35 seconds and counting. We are still go with Apollo 11. 30 seconds and counting. Astronauts report it feels good. T-minus 25 seconds. 20 seconds and counting. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower cleared.
Here we got a roll program.
Neil Armstrong reporting the roll and pitch program, which puts Apollo 11 on a proper heading. That's 30 seconds.
Roll complete and a pitch is programmed. One Bravo
is a abort control mode. Altitude's 2 miles.
All 11 Houston, you're good at 1 minute.
Downrange 1 mile, altitude 4 miles now. Velocity 2,195 feet per second.
Start bottle pressure red line is lit. I don't. Where? Yeah, it don't make a difference. No difference. Okay, let's punch them out. Everything just go, Ralph.
We're through the region of maximum dynamic pressure now.
Yeah, everything looks good here. We're at 1350 on the start bottle.
Set 8 miles downrange, 12 miles high. Velocity 4,000 feet per second.
Stand by for mode 1, Charlie. And this apocalyptic sight, as we see it tracked by airborne cameras on high-flying aircraft. Here comes first stage separation coming up now, speed about 6,000 miles an hour. Already out of sight to us at the Cape, just a big blotch of smoke in the sky as Apollo 11's on its way. First stage goes. There goes first stage cut off. He's 36 miles high, 50 miles away, and doing over 6,000 miles an hour now. Next thing to watch for in about another 45 seconds, the jettisoning of the escape tower rocket, 60 miles up. Well, Apollo now burning along on the second stage, which will take it along for another 600 seconds of powered flight and to a height of 101 miles, by which time it'll be 880 miles away from us. And during these next few minutes now, the speed is building up to 15,000 miles an hour.
Well, another perfect launch of the kind we've come to expect. And I think it's really rather staggering, you know, to remember the first men in the moon are really on their way.
Oh, thank you. You're coming through beautifully, Bill.
They're on their way into Earth orbit. Well, it's a very large rocket, but the command module, which they'll spend the next few days, is not large. In fact, they're going to be decidedly cramped.
The module, together with its power unit and main engine, which sits underneath it down there, is what's generally referred to as the mother spacecraft. And on this flight, it'll be the base of operations from which the lunar module goes down to the surface of the moon and back up. It's really quite small. At its widest point across the base, it's only about 13 feet. It's made of honeycomb aluminium and steel on the outside, and the top comes off, as it is here, in order to let the crew go up through into the lunar module. There are 2 windows on either side through which they take most of the camera shots, and then 2 rendezvous windows here and here, with the glass slanted this way so that the crew can see through in the direction in which they're generally going, forwards that way. The hatchway here is opened only twice, once to get in on the launch pad at Cape Kennedy, and once more to get out in the Pacific when they get back. Inside, it's even more cramped than it looks from outside, for 3 men, all of whom are about 5'11" each. The lunar module pilot, Buzz Aldrin, lies in that couch there. In the center couch, which has been taken out to let us get in, Michael Collins, the command module pilot, and Neil Armstrong, the man who will be the first to set foot on the moon, the commander, flies in the left-hand couch here. Now, the commander's instrument panel obviously contains the most important flight instruments on board, because he's the man who flies the spacecraft most of the way. And he flies it essentially by putting it in the right position in space using these directional jet controllers here on his hand grips. Once he's got the spaceship in the right position in space, he then uses the controls on his main instrument panel to fire the engine in the direction he's set himself to go. First of all, of course, the computer, which gives him all the information he needs to make the decisions he has to. Down here, the whole section that covers what he has to do if something goes wrong on launch, the abort panel, as it's called. Next to the abort panel, the fuel stage of the 3rd stage, that's the stage that fires them from Earth orbit out towards the moon. Right above that, the attitude indicator, that's the control that tells him which way he's facing in space. Over here, the command module pilot, but his normal area of work, because he's the navigator, is down here. This is where the navigator, that's the command module pilot, spends most of his time, in the navigation bay. He has, of course, up there on his panel, also instruments that he has to check all the way through the flight, basically instruments that tell him the fuel states of the engines on board. But here's where he spends most of his time. And he spends most of his time looking through a sextant and a telescope up here. You navigate in space using those instruments like this. You line up the instruments on a star, and when you've lined that up, you press the button and that information goes into the computer. And the computer then says, yes, I agree, that star is where it ought to be, therefore we're on course. It's useful that the computer can check that, because on Apollo 8, they once lined up the instruments on a blob of urine that was floating not too far away in space, and the computer said, don't be worried, we're not in the wrong place, that's not a star, that's a blob of urine. This is the only part of the spacecraft that you can actually stand up in, because it leads to the docking tunnel through to the lunar module. And being able to stand up in a spacecraft really pleases most astronauts.
We believe that Mike Collins is now maneuvering the spacecraft in the transposition and docking maneuver, and the antenna patterns aren't too good at the moment. So we have a weak signal strength.
In Earth orbit, the astronauts have to carry out a complex docking maneuver, and then they start their main journey to the moon, and to reach lunar orbit it'll take them 3 days.
Apollo 11, this is Houston. How do you read? Over.
Hello, it's Neil. How are you reading, Mike?
Oh, loud and clear now, Mike, and we understand that you are docked.
That's right.
At this moment, Apollo 11 is nearly 35,000 miles out from Earth and heading for the moon at 7,000 miles an hour. Everything about the mission has gone so perfectly that a mid-course correction due early tomorrow morning won't now be necessary. There have been 2 small errors. They did use a fraction too much fuel in a maneuver just after they left Earth orbit, and the second error was gratifyingly the computer's fault. We now learn that launch this afternoon was 724 milliseconds late. Tomorrow they have a fairly relaxing day ahead of them, with plenty of time to wonder if the Russian Luna 15 has pipped them at the post. Gerald Bankov said that Luna's on a course different from any other Russian moon probe and one that could well take it to a lunar landing. If it's going to scoop up moon rock, it should be getting down to the digging on the surface sometime tomorrow morning. No mention of all this in conversations between Mission Control at Houston and the Apollo crew. No mention of much other than the barest technical details. Although perhaps the crew are going to be a little bit less cold than we thought they were going to be. Just now, Mission Control asked them why the long period of radio silence, and they answered that wasn't radio silence. That was a sandwich in my mouth.
Luna 15, by the way, had been launched by the Russians, and it was buzzing around the moon. And I'd been sent by the BBC over to Russia to find out just what it was doing. In point of fact, it was a reconnaissance, and it failed in the end. It crash landed, but it was no danger for Apollo 11.
Looks like we'll be ready to go into the LEM early, if that's okay with y'all down there.
Roger, it's fine with us, Neil. Go ahead anytime you wish, over.
Back in Apollo 11, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin were getting ready to enter the lunar module, which will take them down to the moon's surface.
That circle you're looking at there is the valve through which they let the air go into the lunar module. The dark circle there. That valve is on the door itself that leads through to the lunar module. I think that's Aldrin's hand about to let the air go through into the lunar module, through the dump valve as it's called.
Okay, the dump valve is actuated.
Roger, copy, 11. We see that very clearly. Is that you, Buzz, with your hand on it?
Yeah.
Roger. Houston, we're really amazed at the quality of the picture up in the tunnel. It's really superb, over.
It is, considering the amount of light up in there. Roger, we're about to open the hatch now.
Roger.
There's that same guy that when you open up the doorway, he's waiting there for you and he turns the lights on.
How about that? It's like the refrigerator.
That conversation between Charlie Duke and Mike Collins referring to the automatic light that comes on in the LEM when the hatch is opened.
The pictures you're seeing now were sent back live from the lunar module. Buzz Aldrin is organising the film cameras to record the most important moments actually on the lunar surface.
Aldrin is standing in front of the window, straight in front of his lunar module pilot's position on the right-hand side of the spacecraft.
Position, we'll be putting the camera in after the initial descent down the ladder, and it'll be taking 1 frame a second for most of the EVA.
It's not the television camera, remember, it's a still.
Houston copies out. That's a real good view of that camera.
That instrument panel is about 5 feet away, and the camera is at the back of the lunar module, so it gives you an idea of how small it is. There's a complete instrument panel on the left half for the commander, the right half for the lunar module pilot. Those black circles on either side of the instrument panel are the attitude indicators that tell them which way up the lunar module is. Aldrin taking out some of his flight plan there, the details of the work he has to go through now.
Okay, for those of you that don't know, this is where we log most of our data for each of the LEM maneuvers. And we have another card like this, it's the timeline book, that we place down on the table in front of the data and display keyboard. And it's on this timeline that we have all our procedures. We obviously have to hold these in place in 0G, so we make use of the Velcro patches on the back and on the table. So we can attach these down here. And then we just turn the pages over when we go to new sequences in our timeline of procedures.
There's a close-up view of the Lunar Module Pilot's instrument panel. The 8-sided figure there that you see with the circular ball in the middle, that's the attitude indicator I mentioned before. That ball moves as the spacecraft moves, and you get an idea of what your position, how much up or down or sideways you are. Here are some of the controls of the radar monitoring systems, the radar that will take them down to the moon. And there, that black and white striped thing there going out of your picture on the right is their rate of descent instrument that tells them how fast they're going down to the moon.
11 Houston, that was a good shot of panel 2. Now we got panel 3 in view with the temp monitor switch. The stabilization and control panel we see now with the mode control switches. Now over to
this is the commander's panel here with some of the flight
real
control
good
switches.
camera work.
Brings home to you how complex it all is.
That black cross on a white background you saw there, that's the instrument that tells them how far they're drifting to one side.
The most unusual position a cameraman's ever had, hanging by his toes from a tunnel and taking the picture upside down. Roger, well, you're doing a super job. We got a good view of the cross pointer there. Had a good view of the tape meter.
Well, just to remind you that the astronaut we've seen in shot so far is Colonel Aldrin, who of course is the Lunar Module Pilot and has a job of tremendous responsibility. And I think also, you know, when we look around the inside of the lunar module, we see how complex it really is.
We're giving you a picture now of the floor of the cabin. I think you can see the one of the two portable life support systems backpacks here in the center, and on each side we have the two helmet visors. I'll remove one of them and show you a little closer view of what this looks like. Roger. Inside the helmet visors are the EVA gloves with the blue tips. I'll not take those out now. Roger, Buzz, that's a great shot now that we're getting of the helmet, the EVA visor, and also the EVA gloves in the background.
EVA, extravehicular activity. It means going outside the spacecraft.
Okay, you did say this was going out now, didn't you? Stand by, I think so.
The EVA visor is the thing that protects them. It's going down now. Protects them against the glare of the sun when they're outside.
You got a pretty big audience. It's live in the U.S. It's going live to Japan, Western Europe, and much of South America. Everybody reports very good color. Appreciate the great show. Roger, understand. Thank you.
There's one way on Earth that you can reproduce the weightlessness that only a handful of people have ever experienced in space, and that's in this plane. With the engines off, this is where about 30 seconds of zero gravity occurs. The men on board call it going over the hump. And then on into another maneuver that you would never expect this enormous plane to take. A pull-out from a near vertical dive close to the speed of sound. The zero-gravity flights operate from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. It's to this airfield in this unique aeroplane that every astronaut has to come to accumulate vital seconds of experience in zero gravity and to learn how to move all over again. The men who fly this plane say that weightlessness makes you go right back to the beginning in learning what to do to control your body. There's only one way to film it: tie the camera and the tape recorder down and then hang onto them and hope they can take the strain. A medical examination to make sure your heart can take the strain lasts 2 full days.
I have no idea what's going to happen now. We've been told that on a weightless flight, the captain begins to put the aircraft into that kind of position. He revs up to about 500 miles an hour. We're doing that right now. As we get to the bottom, we pull out into a curve and we go into what's called 2G. That means twice the amount of gravity because of the pull-up. At that point, I'm going to feel twice as heavy. And all I can do is describe my feelings as we go through that. At the moment, the speed is building up. We're at this point in the dive, and fairly soon we're going to start to pull up. I have no idea what it's going to feel like, so don't expect me to be too coherent. Listen to the engines, and here we go. And there's 1G2. And it's pulling down on me. I can hardly talk. I can feel my face going down. And I don't know if I'm talking clearly, but pretty soon we'll go up over the top. And when we do, I'm supposed to float. And I'm going. It's fantastic. It's unbelievable. It's the most extraordinary feeling. I can't really control myself. All the dust is flying with me. I'm up. I can't control myself at all. You should see the crew that are filming me, what they're up to. This is fantastic. Look at this. I mean, it is indescribable. And now we're back down again as he pulls out. And I'm sorry, I didn't do any better on descriptions than that, but it really, at the beginning, you just can't talk. It's as if all the air in your lungs, when people say their heart came into their throat, that's exactly what it feels like. It all goes up. I can't do that because we're in 2G, and now we're leveling out, and that's the end of the second parabolic flight, as it's called, because the aircraft takes a parabola. It's the most exciting thing that I've ever done in my life. One of the things that every astronaut says about weightlessness is that it's the most comfortable mattress in the world. So, if what they say is true, we leave you just with this last thought. Good night.
And as excitement mounts here in Mission Control, we've got Mr. George Hage, the director of these brilliant Apollo flights, to talk to us. Can you say for you how significant these next few hours are?
Well, this is the point in the mission when we're reaching for the ultimate goal that President Kennedy proclaimed to the country back in 1962. I think all of us that have worked on the program over the years are looking forward to the next few hours with great anticipation. Certainly, we're approaching a very important key milestone. In just about 45 minutes, we will be watching the insertion of the spacecraft into lunar orbit.
This is the real meat of the trip for you, isn't it?
This is the real meat of the trip, and this lunar orbit insertion burn is always one that we watch with anticipation and apprehension, because the entire several minutes of rocket burn occurs out of sight of Earth. And so we essentially are waiting in the blind until we see first signal acquisition from the spacecraft and the crew to tell whether or not it was successful.
When we see you all in there, while this is going on, you all look very relaxed, but can you say that you are?
I can honestly say I'm never relaxed when we have a propulsive maneuver of this type. It's a moment of great tenseness on the part of the whole organization there in Mission Control.
We'd like to wish you the best of luck in there today. And just before you go in, do you have any special message for the crew today before they go in?
I just wish them all the luck in the world and Godspeed.
The crew are now back in the command module and about to have supper and go to bed. Wake-up will be around 11:30 tomorrow morning, just 3.5 hours out from entering the pull of the moon's gravity and the beginning of the great adventure. Our first report tomorrow on BBC One at 1:30, just before Grandstand. And so from both of us here in the Space Studio, it's good night.
Apollo 11, this is Houston. We have a good, clear TV picture.
As Apollo 11 neared the moon, it sent back amazing colour pictures of the cratered landscape. I was at my observatory at East Grinstead, seeing the moon as I had never seen it before. Believe me, that was a great experience.
Meanwhile, right at this moment, the first live television pictures from Apollo 11 are coming in as the spacecraft swings across the face of the moon on its second orbit. And watching those pictures with me will be Michael Charlton in Houston and Patrick Moore at an observatory near Brighton. So let's go straight to these pictures. And there we are, about 120 miles out from the moon, I guess, as they swing out across on their second orbit. Let's now listen to NASA sound.
About south of the southwest of the crater Jansky right now.
First of all, the moon is a world of mountains, valleys, and craters. The craters are everywhere, some huge, more than 150 miles across, others tiny pits. And we now know how they were formed. They were formed what we call the Great Bombardment, when the moon was pelted with material from outer space that came down and plunged and made these impact structures. Also we see the great dark plains known as the Maria, or seas, but they are not seas. There's never been any water in the lunar seas. They were once seas of lava, and the moon was a wildly active volcanic world, but not much happens there now. After, remember, the atmosphere is absolutely negligible, and the moon is pretty inert. Strange to have a black sky in the middle of the day, something you can't really simulate on Earth.
We haven't seen very much detail so far, but of course the spacecraft was coming over an area of the moon over which the sun was quite high. Still not very much detail there, but of course there are no shadows. And as the spacecraft goes on to the lunar terminator, which is the boundary between the daylit and night hemispheres, then we'll start to see shadows, and therefore the craters will be shown into sharp relief. You can see some of the craters there. There are two now towards the lower part of the screen, each with central peaks, and these central peaks are quite common in lunar craters. We can see, too, some of the darker areas, which, of course, represent smoother parts of the moon.
Over 100 miles up, no shadows. There's a multi-ring crater. You can see there an elongated dark floor crater. Bear in mind, we've got to bear with perspective, and the craters are basically circular, but when they're seen near the edge of the field, they appear to be drawn out into ellipses. That crater, that dark floor one, is actually about 30 miles across and is circular. Two craters there. Note their central peaks. Many of these craters do have central mountains, which look fairly small, but are in fact pretty high.
And Gilbert U is in the center right now, and this comes up at about a little over 12 minutes before power descent. Instead of looking back at it, we'd be looking straight down at it at that time. Now we show you an altitude now of about 110 miles, and of course it'd be considerably lower at the initiation of power descent.
All the time we're looking at a very ancient landscape. Not much has happened on the moon for more than 1,000 million years. Go back to the time of the dinosaurs, and the moon appeared as it does now. The dinosaurs could have seen it, though I doubt if they had telescopes.
And here in Houston, where all this is coming to us first before it goes out to you, we're seeing these pictures in color, and they're coming in marvelously clearly.
Small crater between the first and second, and the one at the bottom of the screen is Schubert Y.
That's Mike Collins speaking from about 80 miles up above the moon surface.
Actually, several of them, and you can observe those with the rim craters at the bottom of your screen.
Now there's one typical example of a crater, as we can see. Fairly high walls and a sunken floor. Other craters are brighter, with brighter walls.
Here's called Schubert N. Schubert N, very conical inside walls, and the bottom appears to be nearly flat.
I was talking here in Houston this morning to Oslo Covington, the man who runs this marvelous network of communication. One's got to listen to these brilliant engineers now when they tell you things. He tells us that handwriting may be redundant in about 20 years, but they'll be able to voice print communication and guarantee perfect privacy to people, so we won't have to write letters anymore. That's the sort of technology which is coming in the wake of these Apollo flights.
We're coming up on the Foaming Sea, where I'll be doing some P-22 marking on a crater of my choice. Name is Crater Camp. Good, we'll be watching for Camp.
These are the highlands not very far away from the edge of the Sea of Fertility. And, of course, this is just the kind of area where you would not land because it's much too rough. It's not, of course, very far away from the moon's equator, and so down there, where the sun's already quite high, the temperature is unpleasantly great. Of course, when the astronauts actually come down tomorrow evening, they'll land in an area where the sun's only about 10 degrees above the horizon, and the temperature will be very much less.
Remember, we're not seeing any marked shadows here. From Earth, the moon's craters appear in sharp contrast to the walls cast shadows on the floors. But here the sun's coming down at a high angle of illumination, and we are not getting shadows. Also, each picture shows a fairly small area.
The smaller one's out on the floor of the Foaming Sea.
We've been some 17 minutes now into this television pass, standing by, continuing to monitor.
And that's an area where you probably would not land. We want as smooth an area as we can get. And the area selected is in the Mare Tranquillitatis, or the Sea of Tranquility. And that's where, all being well, they will come down in a few hours from now.
The Foaming Sea, you heard you mention just now, isn't in fact one of the larger dark plains. It's a patchy area, not very far away from the border of the famous Sea of Crises, which we ought to see in a minute or two.
The Sea of Fertility now, and ought to have Langreth down south of Trek a few degrees, about 9 degrees south of Trek.
Yeah, the crater that's in the center of the screen now is Webb. We'd be looking straight down on it at about 6 minutes before our descent. It has a relatively flat bottom to the crater, and you can see maybe 2 or 3 craters that are in the bottom of it. On the western wall, the wall that's now nearest to the camera, near the bottom of the screen, we can see a simple crater just on the outside. And then coming back towards the bottom of the screen and to the left, you can see a series of depressions. It's the type of connected craters that give us most interest to discover why they're in the particular patterns that they're in. I'll zoom the camera in and try and give you a little closer look at it.
People say also, why can't you see stars in the lunar sky? The lunar sky is black, there's no atmosphere there. Well, if you want to see stars from the moon's surface, you acclimatize yourself by dark adaptation, shield your eyes from the glare of the rocks, and then you will see stars. One of the first things I asked Neil Armstrong when he came back, I remember, sir, you can see stars from the moon if you go about it the right way, but you obviously can't photograph them because the exposures are all wrong. Now we're coming to one of the great formations on the moon, the crater Langrenus, over 80 miles across. You can see it there It appears elliptical. In fact, it's circular, but of course it's foreshortened here. And below it are 3 more well-marked craters and a marked central peak there. A major mountain group in the middle there, and high terrace walls and a sunken floor. One of a great chain of craters down that part of the moon. Venderandus, Languelus, and so on. They must have been very active once. And in very recent times, strange things have been seen inside Languelus. Strange moving features that may indicate disturbances caused by gaseous bubbles coming up from below the crust. We call these transient phenomena.
The man who named the Sea of Fertility was, in fact, an Italian gentleman named Riccioli, who drew a map of the moon as long ago as 1651.
As you know, the moon keeps the same side turned toward the Earth the entire time, so there's part of the moon we can't see from the Earth, and we now know all about it because we've surveyed it from space. And the 2 sides of the moon are not identical, but the other side, the side we can't see, is also crater-scarred, barren, and of course utterly lifeless.
You hear that remark about coming up on Apollo Ridge. They're getting really quite close to the landing site. The landing site's just the other side of Apollo Ridge. There's a quick look very close to the area of the landing site they'll be going down to tomorrow night. The next big event of Apollo 11, then, the second engine firing behind the moon to put them into the circular orbit 70 miles up they have to achieve if they're going to land ahead of the mission. The next Apollo report will be David Wilson, BBC News at 10:15, and we'll be back later tonight for a fuller report at midnight.
The following day, July 20, was, believe me, tense.
Apollo 11, Houston, we are go for undocking, over. Roger, understand.
The lunar module was separated from the command module, and Armstrong and Aldrin were inside it, leaving Michael Collins alone in orbit.
This is Apollo Control. We've had loss of signal now.
They then began their long descent to the moon, and then the landing. Later, we were actually able to see the landing by using the film shot by the astronauts on the lunar module. Now remember, this could not have been rehearsed by previous craft, so it was something entirely new, and I suppose, really, the most dangerous part of the entire mission. We watched. I personally was holding my breath.
Eagle Houston, we rig you now. You're a go for PDI, over. Roger, understand. Stabilization control circuit breakers. Roger, I think I've got you on high gain now. Roger. Give us a reading on the 1202 program alarm. Roger, we got you. We're going at alarm. Roger, 230. 6 plus 25, throttle down. 6 plus 25, throttle down. Roger, copy. 6 plus 25.
We're still go, altitude 27,000 feet.
Same alarm, and it appears to come up when we have a 1668 up. Roger, copy. Eagle Houston, we'll monitor your Delta 8 beautifully.
You can see the altitude,
Delta 8 is
altitude
looking
in
good
feet
now.
there.
Roger, Delta 8 is looking good to us.
Dropping fast.
Got it on time. Roger. Copy, throttle down.
Throttle down. Better in the simulator.
Right.
Correction on that velocity, now reading 760 feet per second.
It's the P-64.
Good. Roger.
P-64, one of the final landing computer programs.
Fido says we're go, altitude 9,200 feet.
830, you're looking great.
Descent rate 129 feet per second.
We copy.
They should see the landing site any second now.
Eagle, you're looking great. Coming up 9 minutes.
We're now in the approach phase, everything looking good.
Okay, all flight controllers, go for landing. Retro.
Go.
Fido.
Go.
Guidance.
Go.
Control.
Go.
Telcom.
Go.
GNC.
Go.
Econ.
Go.
Surgeon.
Go.
Capcom, we're go for landing.
Altitude 4,200.
Houston, you're go for landing, over.
Roger, understand. Go for landing. 3,000 feet. Copy. Alarm. 1201.
1201. Roger, 1201 alarm. We're go. Same time. We're go.
2,000 feet. 2,000 feet. Into the ag. 47 degrees.
Roger.
47 degrees.
Eagle looking great. You're go.
Altitude 1,600. 1,400 feet. Still looking very good.
Roger, 1202. We copy it.
How you doing, Control? We look good here, Fido. How about you, Telcom? Go. Guidance, you happy?
Go.
Fido.
Go. 700 feet, 21 down. 33 degrees. 100 feet down at 19. 540 feet down at 30. And at 15. And 400 feet down at 9. Gate forward. 1050 feet down at 4. 30 and a half down. Your eggs on horizontal velocity. 300 feet down, 3.5. 47 forward. Put up. Now 1.5 down. 70. Epic shadow under. 50 down at 2.5. 19 forward. Altitude, velocity, light. 3.5 down. 220 feet.
This clock is according to the computer program. Armstrong can change the time of landing by taking over control.
Down nicely, 200 feet. 4.5 down.
200 feet to go.
60 feet, 6.5 down. 5.5 down. 9 forward. Good. 20 feet. 100 feet, 3.5 down. 9 forward. 5%. 185. 75 feet. Car's looking good. Down a half. 6 forward.
60 seconds.
Lights on. 6. Down 2.5. Forward. Forward. That's 40 feet down 2.5. Picking up some dust. 30 feet, 2.5 down. Big shadow. 4 forward. 4 forward. Drift into the right a little. 20. Down a half.
30 seconds.
Forward. Good. 8. Contact light. Okay, engine stop. APA at a descent. Boat control, both auto, descent engine command override off. Engine arm off. 413 is in.
We copy you down, Eagle.
Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
Eagle has
Thank you.
landed.
You're looking good here.
Okay, we're going to be busy for a minute. After Armand, take care of the defense. I'll get this Dr. Bear.
Okay, our flight controller is about 45 seconds to T1.
They're down. The next thing you'll be told is if they can stay. They'll get a go, no go.
Very smooth touchdown.
This time it's called stay, no stay.
Okay, keep the chatter.
This is good, Bob. It didn't drop the flag.
Roger.
How is it, buddy?
Roger.
Things looks okay.
Made a proper
Okay, T1, stay, no stay. Retro. Stay. Vital. Stay. Guidance. Stay. Control. Stay. Telcom. Stay. NC. Stay. Ecom. Stay. Surgeon. Stay. Capcom, or stay for T1.
It looks like we're bending the oxidizer now.
Roger, Eagle, and you're stay for T1. Over. Eagle, you're stay for T1.
Roger.
And we're
Sam, stay for T1.
Roger, and we see you
Then
heading
from Houston and the Manned Spacecraft Mission Control Center. So we're in about 2 hours. The first pictures they expect should be coming in from space of Armstrong's space walk. It's been simply a tremendous afternoon here, as I'm sure it's been a great night for you all at home. We've seen something which Aldrin up there on the moon at this moment has invited us to contemplate each in his own way. We've seen this enormous technology of the Americans vindicate itself here this afternoon. We've seen the separation of the command module from the lunar module, like the separation of some primitive cell. And with that separation, the sowing of life, of human life, on our sister planet for the first time. That's a thought which is going to take a long time to digest, and the first words that we heard from space there this afternoon from Aldrin and from Armstrong, Tranquility Base, the Eagle has landed, are words that every schoolboy of the coming generation is probably going to have to learn and pass on to succeeding generations. A little bit of the downrange landing was due to Armstrong's human decision to override what the computer was telling him, and the computer was telling him to land in the middle of what he called a crater the size of a football pitch. Again, there's a little confusion about whether it's a crater or a rock field that he said, but apparently a pretty hostile place. And Dr. Payne, the administrator of NASA, made great play with this in reinforcing the claims on the American taxpayer for manned spaceflight when he pointed out just how vital these little moments are when the human decision can override what the technology is telling him to do. Anyway, we'll all be watching these pictures together. It's 8 o'clock here at night in Houston, the moon city of the United States, and a lot later than that, 2 o'clock in the morning with you in London, I know, but I'm sure no one who's got a television set ought to be going to bed tonight.
Michael Charlton was right. Nobody went to bed that night. It was a 6.5-hour wait between the landing and that first step onto the moon. Meanwhile, James Burke explained the complexities of wearing a spacesuit.
Good evening. When the first American astronaut steps out onto the surface of the moon, this is what he'll be wearing. It's called an extravehicular mobility unit, better known as a spacesuit. And the people who built it call it the astronaut's own personal spacecraft, since it has incorporated in it all the systems the spacecraft does to keep the astronaut alive and, above all, protected from the totally alien environment all around him. Probably the first thing you notice about this suit as I talk is a constant hiss in the background behind my voice. Well, the astronaut learns to live with that. That's why he's alive. It's the noise made by the inflow of the air into his suit, which either comes, if he's in the spacecraft, through a tube like that, or if he's outside, coming in through from his backpack strapped on the back there. The whole suit weighs more than I do, and it's tremendously complicated and cumbersome, obviously because it's not meant to be worn walking around in the full gravity of Earth. It takes the astronauts, after some years of practice, only 5 minutes to put it on and take it off. It takes me a lot longer than that without help. So to show you how it's made up, I'm going to get some help to, as it were, do a space undress. First off are the extravehicular gloves, the gloves that are worn when the astronaut's outside the spacecraft.
they unlock from a metallic ring on the sleeve and are covered with layers of insulating material. Each glove is tailored to fit each astronaut's individual hand. On his back, the emergency oxygen supply and backpack. Now that's what keeps him alive when he's out on the lunar surface or doing some extravehicular activity in space, walking between the two spacecraft. That, for example, is necessary possibly during an emergency. That has enough systems on board to keep him alive, warm and relatively happy for 4 hours. On his head, there are 3 basic sets of visors. The first one, going down now, is the visor that protects against meteorite impact. And the second one, going down now, gold-covered, protects against glare. And they are fitted on to a kind of over-helmet which comes straight off, revealing underneath the basic plastic pressure helmet. This is the seal that keeps the astronaut alive when he's inside the suit, and the seal is undone simply by unscrewing the pressure helmet from, and with a little difficulty in my case, from the top of the neck of the suit. Underneath the basic pressure helmet, the communications helmet with small microphones and earpieces in order to communicate with either the spacecraft or via the spacecraft mission control at Houston back on Earth. You notice there the change in noise as the pressure helmet came off. Now this air that's entering through the tube is venting itself up behind my head. On his feet, the astronaut has, as he's out on the lunar surface, lunar overboots. And these are popped on and strapped, and they go on over the top of the basic integral suit boot. And as this one comes off, you'll see that the boot itself, the basic boot, is part of the leg of the spacesuit itself. And what's left is this, the integrated thermal meteoroid garment, which does exactly what it says. It keeps the astronaut warm, and it protects him from meteoric impact. It's covered all over with flaps and pockets and controls and containers. And before we show you what's underneath, let's get some more help and get this nozzle, air nozzle, undone and take out the communications links. And now you'll see just how difficult it is for those astronauts to get the garment off in space.
Not in these.
And if you can do that in a spacecraft, then you've got good reason to go to the moon. Here then, the entire outer part of the spacesuit. And so the astronaut outside his spacecraft has now only one more garment underneath. This one, the liquid cooling garment, as it's called. And it answers the problem that they discovered on the Gemini flights, related to the fact that once in an extravehicular spacesuit, an astronaut can get extremely hot doing very simple tasks. This garment answers that problem. Cooling liquid is pumped in through these large tubes and then routed away through lots of very small tubes that run along next to the astronaut's skin and tacked on behind the net-like substance of this garment. And Rusty Schweikart describes the effect of this garment as being very pleasant, like stepping into a cold shower. And from there, we're left with 2, understandably, very basic problems. How do they deal with their waste products? Well, liquid waste is piped away along a permanently attached tube to a metallic reservoir that's set here on the stomach. And solid waste is dealt with by these underpants filled with a highly absorbing material and acting rather like baby's nappies. So that's it, down to the skin. And after all that performance, it doesn't surprise me that all the astronauts want to do when they get back to Earth is head straight for the bath.
Fly me to the moon and let me sing a romance song. Let me was riding my arm to the moon and Mars.
And now the greatest moment of all, the first step onto the moon. In Britain it was 3:45 in the morning, and then the pictures came up. They look grainy and blurred now, but they were amazing considering the circumstances, and of course the pictures did improve later. But these were enough to show that men had actually reached the moon. The voices you're hearing now are the controllers in Mission Control and the astronauts themselves, with occasional comments from James Burke in the studio. So I'll try and keep you abreast of what was happening.
Okay, stand by, Neil. Columbia, this is Houston, 1 minute, 30 seconds to LOS. All systems go, over.
Armstrong is out on the porch, outside.
Columbia, a minute, Neil. Okay.
Any minute now he should release the controls that turns on the television. Any minute now we should see pictures. At most, unless he really takes his time, it should be no more than 1.5 to 2 minutes from now.
Neil Armstrong on the porch at 109 hours, 19 minutes, 16 seconds.
Okay, everything's nice and straight in here. Okay, can you pull the door open a little more? Right? Okay. Did you get the Mesa out? I'm going to pull it now.
Here it goes. Here goes the Mesa with the television camera on it. Now is when we'll see pictures.
Houston, the Mesa came down, all right. Houston, roger, we copy, and we're standing by for your TED. That's clear. Roger.
And here's the picture.
And we're getting a picture on the TV. You got a good picture, huh? There's a great deal of contrast in it, and currently it's upside down on our monitor, but we can make out a fair amount of detail. Okay, would you verify the position, the opening I ought to have on the camera? Stand by.
There is Armstrong. You can see him moving.
Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now. Okay, Neil, we can see you coming. Okay, I just checked, getting back up to that first step. That isn't collapsed too far, but it's adequate to get back up. Roger, we copy. It's a pretty good little jump. Buzz, this is Houston. F2, I'm at the 1/160th second for shadow photography on the sequence camera. Okay. I'm at the foot of the ladder. The LEM footbeds are only depressed in the surface about 1 or 2 inches, although the surface appears to be very, very fine-grained as you get close to it. It's almost like a powder. Ground mass is very fine.
There he is, putting his foot out. You can see him leaning on it. You can just make out the backpack and the dark circle of the visor in front of it.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. As the surface is fine and powdery, I can pick it up loosely with my toe. It does adhere in fine layers, like powdered charcoal, to the sole and sides of my boot. I only go in small fraction of an inch, maybe an eighth of an inch, but I can see the footprints of my boots and the treads in the fine sandy particles. Neil, this is Houston. We're copying.
And he's moved off the footpad. It looks as if he's moved off the footpad and coming towards the camera. Beginning those
there seems to be
exercises.
no difficulty in moving around as we suspected. It's even perhaps easier than the simulations of 16G that we performed in various simulations on the ground. Absolutely no trouble to walk around. The descent engine did not leave a crater of any size. It has about 1 foot clearance on the ground. We're essentially on a very level place here. I can see some evidence of rays emanating from the descent engine, but very insignificant amount. Okay, Buzz, we ready to bring down the camera?
I'm all ready. I think it's all squared away in good shape.
Okay.
Okay, you'll have to pay out all the LEC. It looks like it's coming out nice and evenly.
Okay, it's quite dark here in the shadow and a little hard for me to see that I have good footing. I'll work my way over into the sunlight here without looking directly into the sun.
Of course, like everyone else, I was glued to the television screen, but this is not what I actually saw. This came later. This picture was taken by the small camera we saw Buzz Aldrin fixing up earlier on, so these were taken later, not what was actually seen on the screen at the time.
Looking up at the lamb, I'm standing directly in the shadow now, looking up at Buzz in the windows. And I can see everything quite clearly. The light is sufficiently bright, backlighted into the front of the lamp, that everything is very clearly visible.
Okay, I'm going to be changing it up.
Okay. Roger, Neil, we're reading you loud and clear. Let's see, get some pictures and the contingency sample.
35 and a half minutes of PLSS time expended now.
35 and a half minutes on the oxygen supplied from that backpack you can see on his back. He's now going to pick up the first sample of moon dirt using a scoop telescopically folded up and in his pocket. When he goes to get it after he takes these photographs, he'll be bending forward to reach into his pocket to pull that telescopic scoop out. He's taking pictures of everything round him.
Neil, this is Houston. Did you copy about the contingency sample, over? All right, you're going to get to that just as soon as I finish these picture series.
Taking pictures in a full circle round him. Now he's beginning to reach into that pocket to pull out the scoop. The contingency sample that he'll bring back if something goes wrong in the early part of this walk and they have to leave the moon.
Okay, going to get the contingency sample there, Neil?
Houston worried that he might...
Okay, that's good.
Might take too long to get it.
Okay, the contingency sample is down and it's up sample. Like it's a little difficult to dig through the initial crust
very interesting. It's a very soft surface, but here and there where I plug with the contingency sample collector, I run into very hard surface, but it appears to be very cohesive material of the same sort. I'll try to get a rock in here. Just a couple.
Everything you've said, Patrick Moore, about the surface seems to be correct.
Well, so far, this early
That looks beautiful from here, Neil. It has a stark beauty all its own. It's like much of the high desert of the United States. It's different, but it's very pretty out here. Be advised that a lot of the rock samples out here, the hard rock samples, have what appear to be vesicles in the surface. Also, I'm looking at one now that appears to have some sort of phenocryst. Houston, roger out. Okay, the handle is off the... push it in about, 6, 8 inches into the surface. Like it's pretty easy to... It is. It's, I'm sure I could push it in farther, but it's hard for me to bend down further than that. Now you can throw so far. You can really throw things a long way up here. That pocket open, bud? Yes, it is. It's not up against your suit, so hit it back once more. More toward the inside. Okay, that's good.
That's the pocket he's going to put the sample into. Down on the thigh of his left leg.
Yeah, push down. Got it? Now it's not all the way in. Push it. Contingency sample is in the pocket. My oxygen is 81%. I have no flags, and I'm in minimum flow. Okay, I got the camera going at 1 frame a second. Okay. And I've got 80%, no flags. Good. Are you getting a TV picture now, Houston? Neil, yes, we are getting a TV picture.
Those are amazing pictures, and you can see there Neil walking about on the moon's surface. Remember, Buzz hasn't come down yet. Buzz is still inside the lunar module, awaiting his turn.
Okay, I'm on the top step, and I can look down over the RCU and landing gear pad. It's a very simple matter to hop down from one step to the next. Yes, I found it to be very comfortable, and walking is also very comfortable.
There's Aldrin.
You've got 3 more steps and then a long one.
And remember, on the moon have only 1/6 of Earth weight. And although it's daylight, the sky is inky black. There's nothing to spread the sunlight around and make the sky blue.
Okay, I'm going to leave that 1 foot up there and both hands down about the 4th rung up.
Slow but deliberate movement.
There you go.
As he inches his way down the ladder toward the Sea of Tranquility.
A little more. About another inch. There, you got it? That's a good step. Yep. About a 3-footer.
3-foot jump.
Beautiful view. Isn't that something? Magnificent sight out here. Magnificent desolation.
Back in mission control, they now know the expedition really is a success.
Both PLSS is nominal on consumables.
like the secondary strut. Have little thermal effects on it right here, Neil. Yeah, I noticed that. Seems to be the worst, although similar effects are on all around. Okay, Houston, I'm going to change lenses on you. Roger, Neil.
Yeah, a moment while Neil Armstrong changes the lens on the television camera. When he takes it out to its distant position, we'll get a wide view of everything that's going on. That's what's happening now. He's changing the lens.
Okay, Houston, tell me if get a new picture. Neil, this is Houston. That's affirmative. We're getting a new picture. You can tell it's a longer focal length lens. And for your information, all LEM systems are go. Over. For your information, all LEM. I appreciate that. Thank you. For those who haven't read the plaque, we'll read the plaque that's on the front landing gear of this LEM. There's two hemispheres, one showing each of the two hemispheres of Earth. Underneath it says, "Dear men from the planet Earth, first set foot upon the moon, July 1969 AD. It came in peace for all mankind." It has the crew members' signatures and the signature of the President of the United States.
And so long as history lasts, Buzz O'Neill will never be forgotten.
Ready for the camera? Pocket it. Yeah, you're taking TV on now. Touch the LEC there.
They are only children to make one moonwalk. They won't stay out for very long. They'll set up experiments, survey the general situation, and then return. Only one EVA or moonwalk at this time.
Yeah, surface material, powdery. I don't know how good your lens is, but if you could smudges above.
See the smudges on the end of his fingers there.
Very much like a very finely powdered carbon, but pretty looking. You pull out some of my cable for me, Buzz?
This is the television camera cable being pulled out.
Houston, how close are you able to get things in focus? This is Houston. We can see Buzz's right hand. It's somewhat out of focus.
The camera's moving.
I'd say we were focusing down to probably about 8 inches to a foot behind the position of his hand when he was pulling out the cable.
Armstrong now must have the camera in his hand.
Okay, how's the temperature looking there? Temperature of the camera is showing cold. I'm a little cool. I think I'll change. Oh.
It looks as if we're looking down. The camera's maybe pointing down. That looked like a view of his feet walking
I'm on
around.
intermediate now, Houston, and I show 3.78. No flags, 74. Houston, roger out. And we'll probably need a little distant back location television camera.
And there, the first view of the lunar surface as he carries the camera out to about 30 feet away from the lunar module. The next time they come into vision...
Let's look at the minus I strut. The direction of travel there. Traveling from right to left. Right. So this one over here underneath the mezzanine where the probe first hit.
Aldrin examining the lunar module.
I got plenty of cable. You got plenty more. Okay, I think I got the end of it. Something interesting in the bottom of this little crater here. Maybe, I keep going. We got a lot more. Okay. Getting a little harder to pull out here.
President Nixon is due to speak to the astronauts directly in about 2 minutes.
If you stand on the ladder facing forward, the minus Y strut is the landing gear to your left.
Hey, I am, Buzz. 40, 50 feet. Why don't you turn around and let them get a view from there and see what the field of view looks like. They're backing into the cable.
There it is. The lunar module.
Turn around to your right, be better. I don't want to go into the sun if I can avoid it. That's right, Jim. Just leave it. All right, let it sit like that and walk around it. Houston, how's that field of view going to be? Pick up the mesa far away? Good. Neil, this is Houston. The field of view is okay. We'd like you to aim it a little bit more to the right, over. Okay. Okay, that's all the cable we have. All the way out. I'll start working on the shoulder. A little bit too much to the right. Can you bring it back left about 4 or 5 degrees?
Aldrin there by the lunar module, about to bring out the solar wind experiment.
Okay, that looks good, Neil. Hey, that looks good, Neil. Okay, now, think I ought to be farther away or closer? Can't get too much further away. Let's try it like that for a while. I'll get a couple panoramas with it here. Roger, you look okay as far as distance goes, Neil, and we'll line you up again when you finish the panorama. You're going too fast on the panorama sweep. You're going to have to stop for... I haven't stopped. I haven't set it down yet. That's the first picture in the panorama. Right there. Roger.
The Sea of Tranquility.
It's taken, just, northeast. Tell me if you got a picture, Houston. Well, we've got a beautiful picture, Neil. Okay, I'm going to move it. Okay, there's another good one.
Fantastic.
There's another.
The blackness of the sky.
Okay, we got that one. Okay, now this one's right down sun, straight west. And I want to know if you can see an angular rock in the foreground. Roger, we have a large angular rock in the foreground, and looks like a much smaller rock a couple of inches to the left of it, over. Right, and on beyond it about 10 feet is an even larger rock that's very rounded. That rock is about, the closest one to you is about sticking out of the sand about 1 foot. It's about 1.5 feet long, and it's about 6 inches thick, but it's standing on edge. Roger. Okay, Neil, I've got the table out. Got a bag deployed. We got this view, Neil. Straight south. Roger, and we see the shadow of the limb. And the hill, Roger, the little hill just beyond the shadow of the limb is a pair of elongate craters. About probably the pair together is 40 feet long and 20 feet across, and they're probably 6 feet deep. We'll probably get some more work in there later. Roger, and we see Buzz going about his work. How's that for a final? For a final orientation, we'd like it to come left about 5 degrees over. Back to the right about half as much. Okay.
One of the main aims is, of course, pure science. And although neither Buzz nor Neil are professional scientists, believe me, they are both very, very knowledgeable.
Okay, that looks good there, Neil.
The flight plan says 2 hours and 40 minutes. I would guess they'll try to stay a little bit longer.
Okay, you can make a mark, Houston. Roger, fine. And incidentally, you can use the shadow that the staff makes to just getting it perpendicular.
Buzz is erecting the solar wind experiment now.
They're about 30 minutes behind schedule.
Some of these small depressions get soft, and you tend to think, oh, maybe 2 or 3 inches. I can suggest exactly what the layer pictures showed when they pushed away a little bit. You can force transmitted through the upper surface of the soil, and about 5 or 6 inches away, it breaks loose and moves as if it were caked on the surface, when in fact it really isn't. I noticed in the soft spots where we have footprints nearly an inch deep that the soil is very cohesive, and it will retain a slope of probably 70 degrees on the side of the footprint.
Just this side of the leg on the left, the solar wind experiment.
About a rocker.
The intense blackness of the shadows. They really are as black as ink.
It looks as if they're getting out the tongs to begin this sample collection.
Columbia, this is Houston, AOS, over. Houston, AOS, over.
And here comes Mike Collins, 70 miles up, round from behind the moon, in the command module.
Neil Armstrong's been on the lunar surface now almost 45 minutes.
Columbia, 9 gain, over. Columbia, this is Houston, reading you loud and clear, over. Yeah, this is Houston, reading. Yeah, reading you loud and clear, how's it going?
Working under 1/6 gravity is not difficult. As you can see there, Neil is not having any obvious difficulties in doing that.
Great. I guess you're about the only person around that doesn't have TV coverage of the scene.
That's all right, I don't mind a bit. How is the quality of the TV?
Oh, it's beautiful, Mike. It really is.
Oh, geez, that's great. Is the lighting halfway decent?
Yes, indeed. They've got the flag up now, and you can see the stars and stripes on the lunar surface.
Beautiful, just beautiful.
Taking photographs.
See if you can pull that in off a little bit. Tighten that in a little. It won't go out. Okay.
It looks as if they're having difficulty in getting the staff of the flag into the ground. And they've done it.
That's a very good scene showing the module of the experiments and also the completely inert and stationary flag. No fluttering there, nothing to make it flutter.
Neil, this is Houston radio check, over. Hi, Roger. Houston, loud and clear. Roger out. Loud and clear, Houston. Roger, Buzz. You're in our field of view now.
You do have to be. All right, you do have to be rather careful to keep track of where your center of mass is. Sometimes it takes about 2 or 3 paces to make sure that you've got your feet underneath you. And about 2 or 3 or maybe 4 easy paces can bring you to a fairly smooth stop. Direction. Like a football player, you just have to put out to the side and cut a little bit. So-called kangaroo hop does work, but it seems your forward ability is not quite as good as it is in the conventional, more conventional one, but after another. As far as saying what a sustained pace might be, I think the one that I'm using now would get rather tiring after several hundred.
This is Aldrin running around.
But this may be a function of the suit as well as lack of gravity force here.
Tranquility Base, this is Houston. Can we get both of you on the camera for a minute, please?
It sounds as if President Nixon wants to talk to them now.
Say again, Houston. Roger, we'd like to get both of you on the field of view of the camera for a minute. Neil and Buzz, the President of the United States is in his office now and would like to say a few words to you. Over. Go ahead, Mr. President. This is Houston out.
Hello, Neil and Buzz. I'm talking to you by telephone from the Oval Room at the White House. And this certainly has to be the most historic telephone call ever made. I just can't tell you how proud we all are of what you do. For every American, this has to be the proudest day of our lives. And for people all over the world, I am sure they too join with the in recognizing what an immense feat this is. Because of what you have done, the heavens have become a part of man's world. And as you talk to us from the Sea of Tranquility, it inspires us to redouble our efforts to bring peace and tranquility to Earth. For one priceless moment in the whole history of man, all the people on this earth are truly one. One in their pride in what you have done, and one in our prayers that you will return safely to Earth.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a great honor and privilege for us to be here representing not only the United States, but men of peace of all nations, and with interest and a curiosity and with a vision for the future. Honor for us to be able to participate here today.
And thank you very much, and I look forward, all of us look forward to seeing you on the Hornet on Thursday.
Look forward to that very much, sir. Columbia, this is Houston, over.
Loud and clear, Houston.
Roger, I've got a P-22 auto optics pad for you.
The slow motion gate doesn't appear to be causing any problems at all, and if they did fall down, they'd be able to get up all right.
1 hour 22 gone, 1 hour and 22 minutes on the lunar
Roger,
surface gone.
P-22, landmark ID, LEM, T1, 1102656.
And as Houston talks to Mike Collins, 70 miles above in the command module,
32,
on the lunar surface they're about 1 hour and 23 minutes
3
out.
miles south.
They still have not collected the bulk sample of rocks. They haven't finished their photography of the lunar module itself, and they haven't begun to carry out the experiments.
353.855.
At this moment, then, they're approximately 30 minutes behind time.
Decimal 495. Roll 0. Pitch 250. Yaw 0. Over. Roger, Buzz, and break Columbia. This is Houston. When you track out of high gain antenna limits, request Omni Delta. Omni Delta, over.
Still Aldrin moving around out here towards the camera.
I've noticed several times it's
Moving
going
away from the camera now.
Sunlight into shadows, and just as I go in, I catch an additional reflection off the LEM. Along with the reflection off my face onto the visor, makes visibility very poor just at the transition sunlight into the shadow. I essentially have so much glare coming onto my visor, I'm under shadow, till helmet actually gets
shadow, and then it takes a short while for my eyes to adapt. Then after being out in the sunlight a while, it takes, watch it, Neil. Neil, you're on the cable. Okay. Yeah, lift up your right foot. Right foot. It's still, your toe is still hooked in it. That one? Yeah, it's still hooked in it. Come in. Okay, you're clear now. Thank you.
Armstrong looks as if he's carrying one of the tongs that will begin picking up the rock.
Over this thing.
Neil Armstrong has the scoop for the bulk sample collection.
Picking up that bulk sample now, just about 32 or 33 minutes late. Picking up large scoopfuls in that metal scoop.
Heart rates on both crewmen averaging between 90 and 100. Flight surgeon reports they're right on the predicted number of the BTU units expended in energy of work.
But for those of you who've just tuned in, one of the astronauts walking on the surface of the moon.
General color of the darker than cross sun. Contrast is not as great. Surveying all the dusty area that we've picked up, considerably darker in texture now has picked up once.
They're by the lunar module, and don't forget that lunar module with this one ascent engine is their one link with home. When they blast away, that's got to work properly first time.
Along the area that we're walking. General, addition to the fact that there are footprints there, general terrain where I've been up out of this surface trail is generally of a darker contrast in color.
We were able to follow the 2.5-hour moonwalk, the only one they could make, so everything had to be done on that one foray onto the lunar surface. And believe me, it was a tense time, watching the astronauts move around, collecting experiments and taking in the strange scene around them. After the end of the moonwalk, a 12-hour rest break, and believe me, the astronauts needed it. And during that time, Buzz Aldrin decided to take some of his own pictures from the lunar module, showing us really good views of the entire landing site. You can see there are irregularities everywhere, and yet this is one of the most level parts of the entire moon. Of course, no wind, no weather on the moon. Note the blackness of the sky. Say, no stars seen there, simply because the exposure was all wrong. And now, another really dangerous maneuver, something that couldn't be rehearsed. The astronauts are going to leave the moon and blast back to rendezvous with the Collins in lunar orbit. And there's only one chance of this. That one ascent engine has got to work perfectly first time.
The guidance system checked and ready. The final engine preparations there being made.
Guidance reports both navigation systems on Eagle are looking good.
Whiskey Mike.
And at 5 seconds before liftoff, they'll cut the connections between the two spacecraft.
Answer code.
10, 9, 8.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
Running late.
Work stage, engine arm ascent, proceed.
Liftoff.
beautiful. 26, 36 feet per second up. 5 foot of pitch over. Very smooth.
At 500 feet. At 650 feet. At 900 feet.
Very quiet ride. There's that one crater on there.
Feet high, 80 feet per second vertical rise.
Right on H-Dot.
4 minutes to go to orbit.
This is H-Dot max now.
Rising up to a speed of over 3,000 miles an hour when they get there. Coming up to 5 minutes after takeoff.
There's Ritter off there. There it is, right there. There's Schmidt. And that's impressive looking, isn't it?
10, 9,
Stand by on the engine arm.
7, 6,
90. Okay. Off. 50. Step down.
1. And they should be in orbit.
We got 53373, 32.8 feet per second, 60,666.
And they're in orbit.
In the orbiting lunar module, Michael Collins has been busy making preparations for the return to Earth. The shots we see now are those that Michael Collins took when Armstrong and Aldrin were actually down on the lunar surface. Collins then, absolutely alone, out of touch with the entire human race. And there, the approaching lunar module on its way back to the rendezvous with the command module. Everything worked out in great detail in advance. They must come together gently, dock, and then Armstrong and Aldrin will return to the command module, and the lunar module will then be jettisoned. Its work will have been done, and done very well indeed. In space missions, things can go wrong to the last moment, and I think it was universal relief when splashdown happened and the astronauts were home safely. Well, since then, there have been more lunar missions. They've sent back amazing results. But these later forays couldn't have happened without Apollo 11. They showed the way, and nothing can detract from their glory. So long as history lasts, the men of Apollo 11 will never be forgotten.